what better guest to have on than my good friend, Sheriff David Clarke, America's sheriff. He has been instrumental in one of the early backers of President and America First agenda. He'll be certainly a key player as we move forward into 2020 and the re-election. And he's also a board member of WeBuildTheWall.us. Go to WeBuildTheWall.us. And on our show yesterday live, we had Chris Kobach of We Build a Wall and also Brian Kolfage, the founder and starter of it. We got an update. We're going to go to the border in the next month or so when I can get down there and coordinate the schedules. And joining us now, America's Sheriff, Sheriff David Clarke. Hey, Sheriff, great to have you with us, man.
John, it's fantastic to be on with you and your listeners. Let's do it again.
Hey, were you fired up last night or what?
Oh, it's unbelievable what the president can do to rally the troops, to energize his base, and that's a big thing going into any election, but more so in a re-election. You have to re-energize your base, and that's why I said let's do it again. He made the case to the American people because, as you indicated, a lot of America, let's put it that way, a lot of America was watching and basically reminded us of what he's accomplished, and basically going into 2020, short of a couple new initiatives, there's still a lot of work to do on what's been done in the economy, on taxes, making tax cuts permanent. The border obviously is huge, and you look at some of the numbers, the unemployment numbers that have plummeted for everybody, and so going in, the American people are going to have a choice to make. Do we want to keep this going, or do we want to go back to the Obama days of melees, the economy the way it was, sluggish at best? And I think it's going to be a real clear choice for the American voter, what we want to do looking forward going into 2020 and beyond.
Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting going forward into 2020 because, I was just thinking last night when I got back from the rally, which was late, Sheriff, obviously, and I did my show live in Orlando yesterday, right out on the grounds, on the grass, leading up to the place. So that was a lot of fun. We were on 6 hours yesterday and got to talk to some just regular people that flew in there. It was an amazing event. But when I got to thinking last evening, I was juxtaposing this campaign versus the last campaign. And even when Trump became the nominee, and obviously I was chairman of Virginia, so I was very involved in the intricacies of the campaign from the beginning with Corey and then through Steve Bannon and Kellyanne. When Manafort was there, they basically fired me. So I was they didn't talk to me until he got fired and I got back in. So I don't know what happened in that 2-month period. But what was interesting is this is nothing. This campaign is nothing like I experienced in 2016. I mean, this is the power of incumbency. They got the entire RNC behind them. They've got not millions, but billions of dollars. They're going to end up spending $2 billion in this campaign. They've got this whole infrastructure. They've already got 80 full-time people. I mean, at the height of the campaign in 2016, we didn't have 80 people full-time. They got this army of people, and, it's very top-down. It's very corporate. Decisions have to go through layers, so that's one of the downsides. Not like we had in 15, 16, where, if I wanted to do something, I texted Lewandowski. that was the campaign structure. He either said okay or not. So and meantime, the Democrats are still fighting. I mean, they're going to be fighting over their nominee maybe till they get to the convention in your hometown of Milwaukee. So that's got to be a huge advantage for the president, right?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. The roles have been flipped, actually, now.
Yes.
That President Trump is seeking re-election, and the Democrat clown show over there with, about 24 candidates, and all they're offering are giveaways, free college, free checks for not working, reparations for slavery, free everything. So the the position of incumbency cannot be underestimated. It's huge. Look, I ran 4 times for sheriff in Milwaukee County, a county of 1 million people. The first time I ran, obviously, I was not the incumbent, but it was an open seat, and that's different, too. In 2024, potentially, you might be looking at, where both parties are looking for a nominee, but this time the president has the advantage of incumbency. You can stay focused when you're the incumbent. I ran as an incumbent 3 times. It's very powerful in terms of raising money, in terms of earned media, because he is the president. I was the sheriff, so the media is following you around anyway, while you're doing your job. That's what they call, unearned media, the media attention that you get. But also, the people already know what to expect, and that's huge. With a newbie, so to speak, even in, this is a position Donald Trump was in going into 2016. People don't know what to expect, and there's this fear factor. What's it going to be like? My gosh, why don't we just keep things going? Voters aren't likely to change their mind. A few will, but most won't. And the reason is, because I've studied voting behavior, for a voter to change their mind, they have to admit to themselves that they were wrong the first time. And that's a hard thing for a human to do, is to admit that they may have made a mistake. So they're likely to vote the same way. Again, Florida's a big state. It's good that he opened in Florida. It's going to be a big determining factor. This thing's going to come down to about 7 states, 7 swing states. Of course, Virginia's one, Florida, Ohio, Wisconsin's one. And those states really are going to determine who the next president of the United States is. So that's where you're going to see a lot of the focus on both sides of the campaign. But the Democrats, they have no vision for America right now. They hate America. They make it clear. And, they want bad for America, bad things to happen. And I don't think that's the general mindset of the American people.
These internal polls that have leaked, they're real. I mean, I can attest to that. These polls are real. They were paid for by the 2020 campaign. I'm glad the president fired all the pollsters that leaked this stuff because, as you know, Sheriff, from a 4-time candidate, you do internal polls, and they're done in a way, and the certain questions are asked because you want to gauge where you are, right? Where am I right now? Any campaign that I've been involved in, it just as an observer, whatever, the first thing you do is when you get in after a couple months is you do an internal poll to see, okay, where am I, right? What are the issues? What are people saying? Is it consistent with the intel that I'm getting from knocking on doors or whatever? Let's find out where the hell we are, right? That's the first thing you do. So they're not meant for publication, right? So they did these polls. Obviously, the president right now is behind in all these states. No, there's no question he is based on that. But then they get leaked. But now he's got 18 months. I mean, if we go back 4 years ago, I mean, Jeb Bush was still at 35% in the polls, and he didn't make it out of New Hampshire. So these really don't mean anything. But I was really upset that they got leaked, and I'm glad the president fired these clowns.
That's one of the biggest hazards of a campaign is the leaks, the internal leaks. There are always people who will try to make a name for themselves. They want to prop themselves up as, hey, I'm in the know. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to tell you? I can do stuff for you. And, that's where these anonymous sources come from. But one of the things that a lot of people, and I'm not suggesting your listeners are here, but a lot of people don't understand about polling is it depends on what you're looking for. And one of the things you want to know going in is where your weaknesses are. What are your weaknesses? That doesn't mean that he's losing those states, but you go in and you ask questions of people who are either undecided or didn't vote for you, and you try to pick their brain as to what went into their decisions so that you can improve on those things. So, I would, if you would have said to me right now, or if the leak would have been that, the president's 25 points ahead in all those states, I'd have said, hey, pump your brakes, slow down, because complacency can set in, this arrogance can set in, and also it's hard to energize a base when you're that far ahead. It's kind of like if 2 sports teams or professional teams are going at it, and one's up by, let's say it's a football game, and one's up by 35 points going into the fourth quarter. A lot of people turn away from the game. They might not turn it off. They'll start conversations. They'll have it on in the background. You lose interest when it's the spread's that big. So, you always want to go in with a mindset of an election that you're behind. Okay, you want that mindset. So, I'm not saying I don't know what went into that polling, but I know what different aspects of polling are because I've done it. I've been involved in it. So I don't get too worried about that. What you have to have going in is a vision for the country, a vision for whatever you're running for, and then you have to have an energized base. You have to give people a reason to leave their house and go out on election day, or if it's early voting, fill the ballot out and mail it back in. But you have to have an energized base, and there's no doubt in my mind after last night, and it's not that I wasn't convinced after last night, but it was a reminder of how energized President Trump's base continues to be this well into, over 2 years in since he won his first election.
And it's only going to get bigger. And not only the people that were in there last night, Sheriff, but I've been here in Orlando for 2 days, and there were another 25, 30,000 people outside watching the big screens. People got online on Monday, 3 days ago, with tents and sleeping bags to be sure they got in. A couple people have been here since Sunday night. I mean, it's just incredible. We were doing our show live yesterday for 6 hours right in front of the Amway Center on the grass in a little mini radio row we had. And when I got off the air at noon, there was probably 15,000 people waiting in line. 15,000. I mean, it snaked back for like a mile and a half, and it was pretty unbelievable, the enthusiasm. I mean, who flies down? And a lot of people we talked to were not from Orlando. They were from all over the place. I mean, I met people from all Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C., North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Chicago. I mean, people had flown in from all over the place to come to this. I mean, that is, and that's only a tiny little bit sampling of the energy that the Republicans have. But I tell you what, one thing that, and I just want to get your comment on it, because I know you're always so forthright. But the lead up to Trump last night was Vice President Mike Pence, right? So he was kind of the lead up act. And then you hear the president, and the difference in charisma, energy, just everything that Trump brings to the table, that iconic way that he talks, that New York way, such a difference from Pence. And I know Pence has been loyal and all that, but that was my one big takeaway last night, one of many, which was, I don't think if Trump wins in 2020, I don't think Pence is a done deal in 2024 by any means, because this guy's a tough act to follow, Sheriff.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Two different people, two different personalities. Basically, I think, and it's just my view, Mike Pence, then governor of Indiana, was brought in to balance out the ticket to give it some experience. Governor, or now Vice President Pence, longtime politician, longtime in elected office. So he has knowledge. He was in the Congress before that. So he brings a wealth of knowledge that helped balance out the ticket at the time, because President Trump and candidate Trump had no political experience, no Washington experience, and so he needed that balancing thing. But the magnetism of President Trump is off the charts. There's no doubt about that. I compare and contrast that not just with Governor Pence, and I'll let 2024 take care of itself. We got 2020 to worry about, but compare and contrast that to the Democrat candidates. What candidate over there has any sort of magnetism? In the essence of time here, I'll give you the answer. It's none. Not one of them is charismatic. This president understands the moment. This president understands a TV camera better than anybody else. He showed that in 2016 when he lapped the field, basically mopped the floor with these long-time career politicians, because they don't understand the camera and they don't understand the American people. This president has his finger on the pulse of the American people, and he just oozes enthusiasm all of the time. He's always upbeat. That's really the American psyche. So that's going to be a tough thing for whoever comes out of that clown show over there on the left, the Democrat nominee is going to have a hard time matching the charisma, the enthusiasm, the vision that this president has. It's really going to be, let's be honest. Whoever wins that nomination is going to start out of the gate with 48% of the vote going into the election. Trump will probably start out at 45%. President Trump will start out at 45%, and then there'll be fighting over the other 7%, and that's in those, I think, those battleground states, those swing states. But I'll tell you what, when people see the enthusiasm level of the two candidates, I think that's why a lot of people went with Trump, who were a little unsure, but said, hey, I like this guy. I like his idea. They were talking about vision. You have to have vision as a political candidate, elected office seeker, because you have to basically paint a picture of what the city, the town, the state, the country is going to look like under your administration. And I think that President Trump does that extremely well.
Better than anybody, right? No question about it. It's going to be an interesting couple of months, see what happens, what the Democrats do. These debates coming up, but like you say, it's a clown show, 24 of them. But, a big advantage that the president has with the incumbency when whoever emerges as a Democratic nominee after their convention in August in Milwaukee, they basically have 3 months. That's the reality of this, especially if it's contested. Now, if it's fait accompli around, April or May and Biden's way ahead and looks like he's going to be the nominee, then it's a little bit different. But if they go into the convention in a fight, you come out of that thing in August, you basically have 90 days to put together a campaign where the president has had 18 months, actually more. He started almost a day after he got elected. So he has this huge head start. That's going to make a difference. And I've only got another minute, but give us an update. I talked to Brian Colfage was on our show of webuildthewall.us. Also Chris Kobach yesterday in Orlando. Sheriff, you guys keep building this wall. They're going to continue to raise money. It was interesting. Colfage said, look, our vision here isn't to build an entire wall against the southern border, but it's to put barriers up where we have the highest incidence of these caravans and drug smuggling and everything else. Is that consistent with the vision of webuildthewall.us?
Oh, without a doubt. To fill in the gaps. There are a lot of gaps along the existing wall on the southern border, and so we're trying to identify those gaps that are very vulnerable, that are being exploited by the cartels. The cartels control Mexico's northern border, and so they have operations set up where there are gaps in the existing wall, and that's what we're trying to do, is fill in those gaps. So we need people's help. The American people have always been generous in terms of helping out when there's a crisis. Go to webuildthewall.us, find out what we're doing. You can see what we've already done. We're doing what the federal government has been unwilling and unable to do, and that's help seal that southern border.
Go to webuildthewall.us. They're running out of money. They need money. This is money you give. You give a lot of money to a lot of different things, and you never really know where it goes. Where this money goes is to put up that wall. Now, I've got to get down there. Sheriff, I know you sent me some dates that I'm checking into now, but I had 3 people tell me they wanted my show to go down there with you, and they're like, look, go down there and get Clarke, and you guys do it together. We'll all come on. Bannon told me that. Steve Bannon told me that yesterday, as did Colfage and Kobach. So I've got to do that. It's going to be like the John and Sheriff Clarke show at the border. That's going to be fun, right?
Would that be cool or what? Yeah, we're still trying to firm up the dates. But it'll be fun, but it'll also be enlightening.
We're going to learn a lot down there. And, all right, I've only got half a minute here, but I got to go baseball. Okay, here's the good news. Your Cubs only a half game out. They've lost 2 in a row. The Astros, they've lost 2 in a row, but half our team is out. Records don't matter. What matters is you get into playoffs and you get a home seed. That's what matters, because I remember one season the Seattle Mariners won like 120 games. They won their division by 23 games or 27 games, and they got swept by the New York Yankees in the opening round. So regular season don't matter. What matters is you get in the playoffs. You guys are a half game out. It's all that matters, right?
Yeah, you guys should have it sewn up by the All-Star break, I thought. But still a long way to go, half the season.
Half our team is out.
I'm a little disappointed. Cubs stumbled a little bit in the last month. But the summer heats up. I think we'll be all right. Just get in. You're right. Just get in.
Just get in. Go from there. John Fredericks Radio Network out of time. We'll be right back. Stay with us.